One day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zax and a south-going Zax. So begins Dr. Seuss's 1961 story, The Zax, a cautionary tale about the consequences of unyielding certitude. North-going Zax, you see, always go north, never east, never west, certainly never south, only north. And south-going Zax, as you might guess, are equally uncomplicated and uncompromising. When one Zax comes up against the other, well, the world grinds to a halt in exactly the place where they meet. And it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. There they stood, foot to foot, face to face. That's the rub, isn't it? When you come to a place where you bump and you stand foot to foot, face to face, and compromise is no option, and cooperation is off the table, well, you're going nowhere, aren't you? You're going to stay right where you are. You come to a place of talking at each other, or past each other, or over each other, or even about each other, and none of these help. They don't lead to empathy, or understanding, or healing, or progress, but only to blame, and to frustration, and to anger, and to impasse. By the way, that's where the story ends. The Zax never move, never budge. Perhaps one day somebody will come across two Zax skeletons staring into each other's empty eye sockets, and they'll wonder what happened. Now, when it's a children's storybook or a cartoonish caricature, it's all, I don't know, interesting or funny or theoretical or hypothetical. But children's books tend to talk about what's real only in fanciful ways. And the Zax are a pretty realistic depiction of my Facebook news feed over the last 72 hours or so. We're processing another mass shooting, you see. Or perhaps more accurately, we are already and once again failing to process it. We're experiencing all of the emotions that come with such an event. Not shock, I suppose. It's hard to be shocked when something has become so predictable a part of our culture as to be fatalistic. That a mass shooting occurred in any particular place, that may be shocking. But that one occurred somewhere? Well, of course it did. Because absolutely nothing has changed since the last mass shooting occurred. Nothing. But hurt and frustration and anger and blame, we're certainly feeling those. I know I am. I actually yelled at my computer screen the other night. I yelled at it. It was because of a post that said that the solution to our gun violence problem is more guns. Arm the teachers in our schools, post armed guards, you know the thinking. Exactly how many guns is enough guns to stop somebody with a semi-automatic weapon? Or throw in a bump stock? We still haven't done anything about those. Can't you people see that the problem is guns? I yelled. But then, I imagined the frustration of my counterpart, who might also be yelling at the computer screen. The problem isn't guns, I can hear them yelling. A gun is a thing. It's an inanimate object. It's a tool. The problem is mental illness or lack of parental oversight or social media or anything but guns. Gun ownership isn't the problem, it's gun use. And bad people don't respect laws, so gun laws won't help. And you know what? We're both right. And we're both wrong. And we're not budging. So here we are, a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks, unmoving, unchanging, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. And as long as we stay stuck in this stuck place, whether the next mass shooting will come is not a question. Only when and where and how many. As I contemplated the hopelessness of the Zacks, I came to realize each sees the other as the problem. It's not a shared problem, not we have a problem, but you are the problem. And if you are the problem, there's no incentive for me to move or to change or to alter my outlook or to seek another way. So where to begin? Well, when Paul faced impasses and infighting and anger and division in the church at Corinth, he said, you have to think of yourselves as a body. You're different in many ways. You're Jews and Greeks and slave and free. That is to say, your cultures are different. Your backgrounds may be different. Your social statuses are different. Your values and worldviews may be different. But amid all the diversity, there must be a unity. There must be a shared identity as the body of Christ. You cannot cast each other out. You must work together. You must live together. You must value each other. You must cooperate. With that image, Paul does a powerful thing. He transforms the conflict from you are the problem to we have a problem. If one part of the body suffers, Paul says, all suffer together with it. We're suffering together. And now I'm going to make a big leap here and say that what is true of the body of Christ is also true of the body politic. And if there still is a body politic in this nation, if there remains any togetherness at all, any shared identity, any shared purpose, then perhaps we may find commonality in our pain. Doesn't matter what sort of Zacks you are. A north-going Zacks or a south-going Zacks or a left-leaning Zacks or a right-leaning Zacks. Nobody wanted what happened in Parkland, Florida to occur. Nobody. And nobody wanted Las Vegas to occur. And no one wanted Newtown to occur or Aurora to occur or Columbine to occur. If we can agree on anything, we can agree that we are all heartsick and hurting, and nobody wants to be where we are. Nobody wants to feel this pain again. Nobody on any side of this issue. So that's a place to start. Pain, by the way, is an indication that there's something wrong in the body. And what is wrong in our body is not simple. The fact that mass shooting upon mass shooting upon mass shooting continues to occur indicates that we aren't dealing with pain from a single source like a splinter, easily identified, easily removed. It's more like a full-on societal systems failure. If we think of the problem as a single source problem, the problem is the availability of semi-automatic weapons. No, the problem is mental illness. No, the problem is lack of parental supervision or oversight. No, the problem is violent video games. You're not going to get anywhere. Catastrophic systems failures require full cooperation and concentrated effort and working multiple problems simultaneously. You have to work them all. The last time I preached on gun violence, which was way too recently, by the way, I used the phrase, "Houston, we have a problem." It's from the movie Apollo 13, and the movie is again on my mind. If you know of the Apollo 13 mission, by the way, "Houston, we have a problem" is like the understatement of the year. It's more like, "Houston, we have 1,000 problems, each as bad as the other." With Apollo 13, the mission immediately shifted of necessity from landing a rocket on the moon to everyone working together from every possible angle to avert disaster. No place for pride. No place for union shop. No idea can be taken off the table. Full and unconditional cooperation is necessary on multiple fronts. There are fuel problems to be solved, electrical problems to be solved, telemetry problems to be solved, because if you mess up the math on that one and the ship never gets back to Earth. If you solve the fuel but not the electrical, it's a disaster. Solve the electrical but not the navigation, it's a disaster. Solve everything but not the oxygen, it's a disaster. So what must we be at work on? Many things. First, and overarching everything, we have to talk about our nation's buying into the myth of redemptive violence. Redemptive violence says that the solution to bad violence is good violence. And we're marinated in this mythology. Think of the movies that we consume. I'm going to date myself, but movies like Rambo or Die Hard or countless superhero movies, countless westerns, the solution to a bad guy is a good guy who beats him up. Might makes right. Violence solves problems. And this mythology is toxic because it makes violence normative and acceptable and heroic. The last time Amy and I went to the movies, the body count in the previews was horrific. It's instructive that Jesus never once indicates that violence in any form is acceptable as a solution. He does quite the opposite. Jesus resists at every turn the urging to be a Messiah who saves through the world's means, and instead walks the path of suffering and love. That's redemptive, not violence. Violent video games are similar to movies in feeding our addiction to violence. Our addiction to violence. Again, the goal is to win through the exertion of force, not cooperation, not negotiation, but good destruction. We're acculturated to violence, and we celebrate it as an acceptable solution to our problems. And then we're astonished when a troubled teen who feels like a nobody wants to feel heroic or be an avenging hero meting out justice on his own terms. Troubled teen. There's another problem that we need to work on. Our children need us. All of our children need us. The teenage years are a hard and horrible time, harder now than I think that they ever were. We do far too little to protect our teenagers from hurt or to give them healthy coping skills. It's true that our teenagers need and crave adult supervision and conversation and support and role modeling. They need to be taught that bullying is not acceptable, that the ones most struggling to fit in are the ones most in need of attention. Outreach, compassion, tutoring, nurturing, parenting, clubs, organizations, support systems. These are ways toward healing. Our church is already doing these things, already supporting these things. The internet. It's a wonderful world and a terrible world. There's everything out there. Everything from information about how to build a solar collector, how to build a fertilizer bomb. Wholesale, life-affirming content and terrible, hate-filled, hate-fueling content. There's truth, and there's half-truth, and there are outright lies, and we expect our young people to navigate those uncharted waters well. Are we even navigating them well ourselves? And certain types of guns. I'm going here. They aren't solely the problem, but they're clearly part of the problem. The AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, the legality of bump stocks, the availability of high-capacity magazines, all of these are contributory to our epidemic of mass violence. It is true that if someone has violent intent, they will use whatever tools are at their disposal, a car, a hammer, a knife, not merely a gun. But there are few tools so ruthlessly efficient as an AR-15 with a high-capacity magazine and a bump stock. For such devices to be readily available to the general public with so few hurdles and so little oversight or registry or tracking, it's not the only problem. It's not a solution that solves everything, but it's a contributory problem. Until we get beyond our my way or the highway approach, until we stop being Zach's stubborn, uncooperative, blaming, and obstructionist, until we see the immense, intense pain in our body as shared pain, a shared problem requiring shared solutions, and until we're willing to put every problem on the table and work them simultaneously and cooperatively with no worthy idea or attempt being held in reserve, what happened most recently in Florida will happen again and again and again and again and again. Because Zachs simply stay where they're stuck. There's a sickness in the body. And when one member of the body hurts, we all hurt. And when there's a problem that threatens us all, we all participate in its solution. Thanks be to God. Amen.